So again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Let me just share the book. Hello.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
We are starting chapter 1 today.
Spirit.
Let's just stretch my screen a little bit so I can see everyone.
It's fine.
Good. Yeah. Good. So chapter 1. Kardec starts with a fundamental question. Are there spirits? Do they exist? What proof do we have about their existence? This is fundamental if we are going to study our relationship with spirits, with the spirit world itself. So let's see what are Kardec's thoughts regarding this question. 1. The cause of doubt regarding the existence of spirits is due primarily to ignorance of their true nature. So it's important to understand the nature of the spirits so that we can start to understand, what it is, and of course our relationship with the spirits. And why is Kardec saying that at the very beginning? Because everything we knew regarding spirits was basically from the experience that we had in life. People were not used, we could say, until Kardec's time, or until the 19th century, to do a methodic study of anything regarding nature, regarding the world around us. Whatever we knew was brought by the perception of other people, other civilizations, of our limited understanding. So basically from 200 to 150 years onwards, we started to have a method to study the universe around us, the world around us, to structure our thoughts, and not just base ourselves in our perceptions, in our creeds, in what we were told. So he started to create a better understanding of what spirits are, moving us from, the perception of other civilizations that we were bringing towards the centuries to help us understand, and of course the myths that certain civilizations had, and their limited perception of spirits. That's why he starts with this fundamental question: if there are spirits, and of course develops into who are they, what are they made of, what is their position in the world that we perceive around us. So spirits are usually imagined to have been created as a separate class of beings whose existence has not yet been proven. And that's why no methodology to study the spirits, no scientific approach, as it were, in inverted commas, of course, to create a better understanding of what spirits are. It becomes difficult to prove. If I believe that spirits are something, supernatural, and how am I going to prove that? It's just my idea, my perception, and he may be completely wrong, And that's why he starts, to use a methodology to create a better idea of what spirits are. Many persons are only familiar with spirits because of the fantastic stories they heard as children, which would be like trying to know someone's life history by reading a novel. This is the thing, we can write a novel and put their perception of what the world is, what spirits are, but how close to reality is that? What are we basing our understanding of spirits on? And these are fundamental questions. So Kardec carries on. Apart from the absurdities that upset them, They do not try to find out if these stories, if divested of nonsensical accessories, might have some basis in truth. This is basically it. We still see in some religions, without criticizing anyone in particular, and sometimes perhaps for people to feel the presence of the Creator, of Spirit, it's necessary to tell them a fairy tale, to tell them a story, so that they would perceive in their language the existence of God, more than just giving them an explanation, a more structured theory that would explain, or even, facts that are difficult for them to understand and to accept. It has its reason to be like that, but we are progressing, we are evolving as spirits. We are structuring our intelligence, our feelings, our perceptions, so we can better understand the world around us, not only the physical world, but also the reality of the spiritual world and spirits, of course. They do not want to put forth the effort to remove the bitter shell of the nuts in order to get at the kernel inside. Therefore, they reject the whole, as do those involved in religion, who, upset by certain abuses, include the whole matter under one and the same condemnation. So basically, some people started to reject religion as a whole, the whole pack, saying that, well, I don't like, I disagree with certain parts of it. So the whole thing, the whole basket of fruit is rotten. So we just throw everything away. And what Kardec's saying is that, wow, of course, it's dressed in a lot of fantasy, because that's how people perceived it in the past. But it doesn't mean that there's nothing that can be developed, can be understood or explained in a better, rational way. So basically, that's that's the idea to be developed here, and we see that people started to reject religion to be more materialistic in the 19th century. And funnily enough, it was exactly when the spirits brought all the information that was compiled to write the books, which are the pillars of Spiritism, the five books. And also it came in different parts of the world through different people with different names, but this reality about the spiritual world, and this reality about the exchange that is possible between the physical world and the spiritual world. Because before, and even today, some religions, they say, well, when you die, something completely different, has nothing whatsoever to do with this world. These are different realities, different. And what will happen there, we have no idea, we have no interference, have no clue. It's up to God, and you can't. So basically, there is an abyss between the two worlds. And what the spirits came to show us, to say, it's just the same world. It's just the reality, is one. It's just the perception that we have of this reality. It depends on where we are. If we are in a physical body with our perception limited to our physical senses, or if we are in the spiritual world with all our spiritual resources as such, there for us to develop and, of course, to use it. Whatever our idea about spirits may be, such belief is necessarily based on the existence of an intelligent principle apart from matter. This is fundamental. There is matter, there is the material world, but there is something that's not material, which is the intelligent principle. This belief is incompatible with the complete denial of such a principle. So he's saying, it's not compatible when we start to see this intelligent principle in action, in nature, in us, and of course in our relationship with the spirits. Therefore, we take our departure from the existence, survival, and individuality of the soul, of which spiritualism offers us a dogmatic, theoretical demonstration, while Spiritism offers a patent demonstration. Kardec's talking here about spiritualism, not spiritualism as we know for instance, in English-speaking countries, especially the UK and the United States, where spiritualism is a movement more than just the collection of religions that believe in the survival, believe in God. So he's talking about this, it's not just to believe that we survive. It's actually to understand more than that. And Spiritism demonstrates that. So before was based on the understanding of people, on tradition, on what people perceived about the reality and what survival meant. But now we have demonstration. We have phenomena going on. We can talk to spirits. We can make sense of what they tell us. We can, bring all the information together, and out of that we can extract the essence. So we can make or create a different understanding now, have a different understanding, but now based on data that we collect from them and from the experience that we get through physical phenomena. And just to refresh our memory, where these traditions come from, especially this division between good and evil, heaven and hell. This is not a recent idea. This is actually from, as far as we know, or what we've accepted, this comes from around 3000 BC, where people started to believe in good and evil, in this division. And of course, the punishment that will come according to which side to take. But where was that, perceived? People started to perceive from their experience in life and create these ideas, but without any demonstration about the reality. So basically, we were in our infancy in this perception of what is going to happen to us when we die, based on good and evil. And now it becomes very clear when, for instance, in the book Heaven and Hell, we have spirits coming back to tell about their situation and the consequences of what they did, their behavior in their last, and perhaps the one before last, and many other incarnations before those, and the consequences of that. So we start to see that, there is a logic behind that. There are laws that need to be obeyed, and every time we break these laws, we have to make the amendments. We have to put things into the right place, back into the right place, so to say. And so we move away from a natural perception that there are two sides, good and evil. And we know religions today that we have heaven and hell, and some within Christianity, some even contemplated somewhere in between, with some flexibility, because it started to become not natural, not logical. That's, we live here, we come here, we have different lives, different conditions, different health, different everything. But our fate is going to be, decided forever. It doesn't make much sense. So we started to see some cases where, well, it doesn't fit in hell and in heaven. So what are you going to do with these people? So let's say that they will remain somewhere in between for a while, and depending on how they behave there, then their fate will be decided, either to one side or the other. But because we are developing intellectually and morally, these things don't answer our questions anymore. So that's why Kardec is saying now we demonstrate more than just create a new theory based on our understanding, because we can see that through the manifestation of the spirits. For the moment, however, let us set aside spirit manifestations per se and reason by induction. Let us see what consequences may result. So Kardec is inviting us just first to evaluate the situation and to create an understanding on the subject, on the existence of spirits. And then we can compare with, what the spirits they have to say, what their manifestation will tell us. Okay, 2. If we believe in the existence of the soul and its continued individuality after death, we must also believe that, first, its nature is different than that of the body, since once separated from the body, it can no longer retain its material properties. So basically, Kardec is saying whatever is related to the body will disappear when the body disappears. The body disintegrates when you die. So any perception, any sense, anything that needs the body to work will be no longer there. If we see, we won't see with our physical eyes. They are no longer there. If we hear, we won't hear with our ears because they will no longer be there. So basically, this being that survives the death of the body is of a different nature, because the body will die, but the spirit didn't. 2, it possesses its own consciousness because it is subject to happiness or suffering. Without consciousness, it would be an inert being, and thus its existence would be meaningless to us. Can you imagine having our memory, our conscience erased completely, reset? When we died, we wouldn't be we or us. I wouldn't be I would be, like an empty computer without an operating system, nothing installed. Or the mobile phone, when we reset to the, a factory installation. Or we know it doesn't happen. We retain our experience, we retain our memory, we retain who we are. And basically, we will learn that we add on top of that, bringing back the experiences from past incarnations. So we see that we have our consciousness that survives the body. If we believe this much, then it is obvious that the soul must go somewhere after death. Yeah, we survive the death of the physical body, we retain our consciousness, but where are we then? Where will we stay? So again, one step forward is, well, we must go somewhere. Then we know that some people believe, no, we remain dormant, we remain in this or that place. But as Kardec has put, hardly anyone proves that or demonstrated that. But what becomes of it, and where in fact does it go? According to common belief, it either goes to heaven or to hell. As Kardec puts here, common belief. But where are heaven and hell? It used to be said that heaven was up above and hell was down below. But where is up above and down below? In the universe, since we know that the earth is round and that the heavenly bodies turn in such a way that for us, up above and down below are reversed every 12 hours. And that the infiniteness of outer space can be probed to incommensurable distances. So we see that our understanding of the physical world, our understanding of the earth, the planets, and everything. So what science, what our structured research has shown us in terms of our physical material surroundings helped us to search for more elaborate answers to those questions. Where does the soul go when we die? Before, people used to believe there was water up in the sky. We know there is, the clouds, but water in a vapor form. But that is not the roof, you know. So people used to consider, you know, or have a very limited understanding of the planet itself and believe that heaven was down below. But as Kardec has put it here, where is down below? You can go cross the center of the earth, arrive at the other side of the planet. So we won't find this hell. And heaven, where is heaven? We know we have infinite sky on top of our heads as such. Or when we start to perceive how minute our planet is in this whole universe, the result of our researches, our observations, our sciences. So we start to discard all these perceptions, understandings that we had regarding heaven and hell and the fate of the soul, to think of something that is more logical. And it is really beautiful that all these teachings from the spirits, they came at the very same time when science started to understand, and some people moved to the other end, denying everything that was related to survival of the soul, the existence of God, the soul, and everything else, because they say, if one fruit is rotten, the whole in a basket is. So let's throw the whole basket, away. Whereas what Kardec is saying is, no, our perception was wrong because our intelligence was limited, experience was limited as well. Our reasoning was very naive, was very simple. So now we have conditions to think, higher up and create a more elaborate understanding of the spirits. It is true that we can understand low places to mean the depth of the earth. But what are such depths nowadays after they have been excavated by geology? Moreover, what should we understand by those concentric spheres called the heaven of fire and the heaven of stars? Since we have learned that our planet is not the center of the universe. Yeah, sorry. The center of the universe, and that our own sun is only one among millions of other suns that shine in the infinite, each one being the center of its own planetary vortex. Again, we start to place our little planet in its right, place where it should be. It's not the center of the earth. So that model that created the earth at the center and then spheres around that were called, each one had a different name. Some talk about seven heavens, or others they call, I think Dante Alighieri called the nine heavens, and Kardec talks about these two here, heaven of fire and the heaven of stars, just to show that this model, considering the earth being the center of the universe, it's no longer reasonable, because we know that the earth is a tiny grain of sand, in this infinite universe. what has become of the importance of Earth now that it has been lost in the immensity of space? And by what unjustifiable privilege would this unperceivable grain of sand, distinguishable by neither its size nor its location, nor any particular role in the cosmos, be the only one inhabited by reasoning beings? So Kardec is just, let's think. Let's, make use of all that we know now today. And then making a parenthesis here, I can imagine from our discoveries that we'll make in the next or through this century, what our perception of this reality will be, let's say towards the turn to the next century. We'll have developed our sciences, we have developed our moral understanding as well, or standards, I would say. So the perception that we have in regard to our reality that is expanding, our perception is expanding as we evolve. So, it makes me think that, how little we still know, very little today. We moved a long way from, 200 years ago, when people believed, or a bit more, that the Earth was the center of the universe, to today, that we have spacecrafts, going everywhere on our solar system, and even going beyond the solar system now. It's the case of Voyager 1, is crossing the boundary of our solar system, going into open space. So reason itself refuses to accept such a wastefulness of the infinite, and everything tells us that other worlds must also be inhabited. So just by thinking, understanding who we are, where we are in this infinite universe, and as Kardec says, can you imagine create this vast universe just to have this tiny little sphere that means basically nothing in this universe, the only place where we have intelligent beings, to consider it to be the center of the universe. So we perceive that, yes, we are still in our infancy as spirits, evolving. And we know that children at very early age, they believe in, fairy tales and all the stories. Their perception of the world is fantasized, it's not close to reality, is very much limited to their age. It's the same for us as spirits. We can understand what we have the capability of understanding, of perceiving. We can't go beyond that at this point. If spirits came to tell us something that is too advanced in relation to our intellectual development, we wouldn't understand a thing. So, but we moved already a long way from, during these past 200 centuries. So we see that, we changed our perception. And Kardec is using just that logic, reasoning, to help us see what to expect in terms of the reality of the spirit, the existence of the spirit, and our reality here on our planet. So, and then he will come later with the results of experience, with the result of demonstration, as he said, through the manifestation of the spirits. So let's first see what our reason will tell us, and then later we see what facts will tell us about the reality, and you see if they match, and make the necessary adjustments to our perception of the reality of the spirits. People are too quiet, no questions so far. Oh, hi, Osali. I thought you people were sleeping.
I had my hand, but I took back because this question I had, I don't know. Is the same the same the same place here, but whatever. Uh, I wonder what's happened. At first, I would like say and ask you, because you said we are the only human being in our universe, so we know. Is it correct, Munir? Because
No, this is what we believed. This is
yeah,
what we
thank you.
believed.
I didn't heard first. I didn't heard. And good. Because
Yeah.
I saw, and I am not schizophrenic, so I saw when Spirit, he was sent from here, from our spirits we know about. I saw spirits like do you, me, else. But this spirit, he was a grand, uh, very lovely. What's name? What is he? Aura. It was very good sensation to me, feelings to me, and I didn't saw him before. I was, I thought my brush, my tweets, and my pajama, and I was so, you're so, I don't know name in English. My pajama, and I opened my door, my room, but I saw my pajama, and he was there, smiling to me. He did it so to me. He smiled, very high, very tall and small, and then green because it wants to do lights inside. He had lights inside, and I said, of course I do. Good. One spirit here. The first thing I think. ET or an ET because it was a green fair color. And I had a mistake. I did a mistake because I took my it was cold. It was cold. I took my so I can in my bed. I saw and I saw and disappear. I could ask anything to him because I did it at time and I did it the wrong way. I saw first my sheets and uh, that was opportunity maybe to talk to him with telepathy or I don't know what's. But I know it wasn't for people say, it was a dragon, it was a, no, reptile, no, it was a human form, and very, I think kindly, shave, I don't know name in English.
I see.
He was say, and disappeared. I said, disappears. Hi, good.
Yeah,
I asked
because the question Kardec
This
was asking is, does it
I
make
was I
sense?
was awake. I was awake. Not
I
all.
see.
Say
Yeah, because the question Kardec asked, does it make sense that this is a small planet in this huge universe and is the only place where there are intelligent beings? So basically he's, saying, is it logical? Does it make sense? So slowly he starts to, sort of move towards this idea that we are the center of the universe. And through logic, he is, seeing, well, what really makes sense is this is a huge universe. Why not you have intelligent beings, in other places as well, or scattered around this, this place. So what a waste of resources to create this universe, to keep intelligent beings in a tiny grain, a grain of sand. So he's using just, logic and, moving, trying to, make sense of all this.
Yes.
And then later he will add the what experience, told him, and the exchange with the spirits. This is just an exercise he's, or a journey he's taking us through, just to evaluate things and see what makes sense and what doesn't, So once again, thanks, Cecily. Yeah.
Thank you. And
Once again,
I would like to
however,
ask something, but this
you want
is
to ask?
another one. It's another one. Sorry, another thing. I wonder what's happened, or situation of people. So they fight by self with arrogance, for example. In another side, people have a very, very good knowledge in the spiritual life or another religion, so philosophy. They have very, very high knowledge. What's happened to human beings, the people that on another side, what's happened with them? Because with the arrogance, I think is it's another side. This is a contrary of what's the name? The people are that this is humble. Humble people. They try. We try. Everybody try. Exercise. Be humble or so. But if they couldn't, or they did want to, I don't know. What's happened with them? Always I think about this, and I know I am arrogant. I know I am arrogant person. And I think, I could help me. I don't want to be arrogant. And this is very, very serious because the majority don't say a word about that. They maybe they fight by self. I'd like to know about, because it's their group that you talk about that.
Well, what I can say, Elsie, is that, what I can say is that all of us, we have, so many imperfections, a lot of them actually, that we are slowly, reading ourselves off. But it's a slow process. And the important thing is to work hard on us and to avoid judging other people. This is the most important thing, you see? We don't know if those people we see today and say, oh, this person is so selfish, you see, but we don't know how that person was 50, 100 years ago, or in his or her last incarnation. You see, sometimes we say, oh, he's so, imperfect. And he says he's a spiritist, or he follows this religion or this philosophy. And then we jump to judge and say, oh, probably his religion is terrible because he hasn't learned anything. We don't know how that person would behave if he or she didn't have that religion to start to wear out the imperfections. So we have no ruler to measure to, people where they were, where they are, and where they will be. The only thing I can say, we have our conscience. And the book Heaven and Hell is very clear about that. There's no court in heaven, no judge in heaven. It's our conscience that we will express in us joy, happiness, or sadness, fear, everything negative, according to how we perceive ourselves. One thing is to say, oh, I'm still selfish, but I was, much more in a previous incarnation. I managed to, advance a little bit on that. I still have a lot to work on, but, this is one thing. And the other thing is that, oh, I had everything to become less selfish, but I didn't. I'm still the same selfish person I was when, I started this incarnation. Then your conscience will be, I've wasted time, opportunity, resources. You'll be, feeling awful. Whereas this other person, although, despite all the imperfection, he or she still carries, he said, I managed to do something. I managed to advance. So glad. One step at a time. We won't work miracles in one incarnation. We will just start a steady process, hopefully, steady process of moving towards perfection. Okay? So let's go to the book. Once again, however, what will have become of souls now that astronomy and geology have destroyed their assigned dwelling places, and especially after the rational theory of the plurality of inhabited worlds has multiplied them infinitely. Since there is no agreement between the doctrine concerning where souls are located and the scientific data, we must accept a more logical doctrine, one that does not ascribe them to any particular circumscribed locale, but which locates them throughout universal space. They form an invisible world wherein we live and which incessantly envelops and surrounds us. So this is where the place, the point where Kardec wanted to take us, just through a rational process. Where is this place? Where is heaven? Where is hell? As he says, our science is just excavated, geology excavated the earth. We have now a better understanding of the universe, of space around the earth. So there's no special place where the souls will go. But if we believe that there is the soul, it has to go somewhere. And then Kardec says, well, everywhere. So the whole universe is peopled with, souls. Few places, comparatively, few places will have physical life as we know. We'll see that physical life doesn't necessarily mean to be in a dense body like ours. We know there are physical there is physical life in other places where the physical body is not as dense, but it's still physical because it's not of the intellectual essence or spiritual essence. It is still made of matter, but the type of matter that escapes our current perception because it's not this dense, it's not this gross. We can start to understand that because we know the air is around us, surrounding us all the time, but we don't see it. So to perceive the air, we need the winds, then we feel the pressure of air moving. We need to see it through the curtains, for instance, moving the curtains. But to believe that there is air just based on what we see, it's difficult. But we don't question that. We don't think all the time, is there air here for me to breathe? Oh, air, yeah. We are like, as if we were inside the ocean, in the ocean, but an ocean of air, not an ocean of water. So, to understand that we are surrounded by the spirit world, we are in the spirit world, but momentarily so dense, basically imprisoned in this dense form of matter, but still part of the spiritual world. We are part of this world, not as people used to believe that we are a separate part of creation and have no relation. Just our behavior will dictate if we go when we return, when we die, if we go to heaven or hell. Only that is the only connection. So to completely apart realities to one reality with different situations within the same reality. We are in the spirit world, but momentarily enveloped in dense matter. We are still spirits, all of us. Some people like saying, well, I see spirits all the time. Yeah, oh, look, look around. I'm seeing, spirit faces here on my computer. Yes, it's true. Dressed, of course, with this dense body, but so we don't stop being who we are, spirits, because we are in a physical body. We are these spirits under very special circumstance and very limiting circumstance as well, because we only have 5 senses normally, if we base our perception in the physical body, to perceive the world around us. If we were to, lose all these 5 senses for 5 minutes, can you imagine? Not seeing, not hearing, not feeling touch, not feeling taste, not smelling. What would the world be to us? A dark place, empty, dark place. That was what our physical perception would tell us. But our spiritual perception, and we know that through mediumship, for instance, or through our anemic faculties, because we have the faculty of the spirits. We don't need to exchange or have an exchange with other spirits to perceive things. We can use our anemic faculties, our own spiritual perceptions, that momentarily are very limited, are blocked, are covered with this thick veil that prevents us from seeing through it very clearly. Some of us, this veil is not that thick, so they can have a better perception of the surrounding. But so what Kardec is saying is that, well, it doesn't make sense that, the souls will be limited here to this planet, this small, tiny planet. Oh, I lost where I was.
This planet is small, tiny.
Is there anything impossible in this? Anything repugnant to reason? Absolutely nothing. Rather, everything tells us that it can be no other way. But what becomes of future punishment and reward if you remove the specific places where they occur? A very deep question. Well, if heaven is a nice place full of clouds, white clouds, where we can see it, and and heaven and hell is a hot place, fire everywhere, consuming us, burning us all the time. If we remove these places, if we say these places, they do not exist as such, they are not located here and there. So what becomes of punishment and reward according to our deeds? We are not going to places to suffer. So what are the recompenses or the punishments as such, to our behavior? This just to think, Kardec is moving from what was believed or accepted by other religions in his time. He's moving through logic to, different understanding, perception of the reality of the soul. Notice, we just see, we have some comments. Okay. Yeah. People searching for the soul, in different places. But the understanding of what the soul is still limited. Hi, Sila.
I was just gonna say that if you remove the heaven and hell, obviously because we study that, what is left is our conscious to push us down or upwards, but that's only because I already read the book. But it is.
Yeah. So you see, yeah, this all when we read the other books as well by Kardec, we see that some of the development will be there, you know. And the book Heaven and Hell is very good because it starts with this discussion about the idea of heaven and hell, where they are located and so on. Kardec is brilliant in that. And of course, the second part of the book is actually about this, the answer to this question, you know. How are we going to, you know, receive the punishment or the rewards that we deserve if, you know, these places for these things, they no longer exist? So here, notice that the notion of punishment and reward usually results in disbelief because it is presented under conditions that can no longer be accepted. This is why some people moved completely away from religion. Today, they don't want to hear about God, Jesus, or religion, or any religious words that takes them back to you know, the teachings from religion, because this type of punishments or the conditions presented made no sense anymore. But as Kardec mentioned, some people prefer to say, "Oh, it doesn't make sense to me." So everything is rubbish. Everything, you know, is to, you know, go to the bin, to the waste bin. No need for that. So I don't believe in anything anymore. Or always say, well, they don't answer. And I confess it happened to me because I was raised in a Catholic family. We were Catholic, not devoted Catholic, but, you know, Catholic. And I couldn't find the answers to the questions I had. Questions that I basically brought, you know. And at one point I said, I won't become an atheist or, you know, materialistic or anything. What I'll do is I'll search for the answers somewhere else. Then I found Spiritism, and Spiritism brought me the answers and, you know, a different perspective regarding the question I had and the answers I was looking for. So, but some people prefer to abandon that completely. They don't want, you know, to make these efforts to put questions and try to find the answers, you know. We need to sweat a little bit sometimes to accept the answers within ourselves. It requires some work from us, but some people are not prepared. They don't see why they are temporarily comfortable with the material world around them, material resources, but sometimes deep inside, there's a hole, big hole. What they do is they neutralize that hole. They you know, basically shove it into the that small room that no one goes, keep them there. But one day, sooner or later, they'll have to, you know, find the answers, not for other people, for themselves, because life will ask that from them. Hi, Osili. I thought you had your hand
I think
raised.
I think you
I answered.
answered the
Yeah.
question. Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yes, no,
Good. Hi, Patricia.
Hi, Munir. Munir, can you clarify something for me? Because
Yeah.
it comes from within. So, okay. But then it talks there about gathering of good souls, that they will gather together and they will enjoy bliss. When we are in the body, and if you're having difficulties of things, it's still not going to take you to a different place. But when you are discarnated and you are within yourself, you're experiencing a lot of difficulties, you might instantly get together or join or tune in with the of other spirits that are suffering in the umbral. And in that
Okay.
gathering, instead of bliss, it's going to be a bit different. And they will, they formed that place somehow with the thoughts or matter they created.
Yeah.
So even though in the Spiritism, it doesn't consider heaven and hell in that way, the umbral, it is a place in a sense that is created by our own thoughts or feelings, not necessarily by God, because he wouldn't do that. It's something that we put ourselves in that situation and we can come out of that. But we can understand that as a place that actually we created somehow together in this gathering. And because it's a suffering place, for some people that could be understood as hell. Or is this incorrect?
Yes, yeah, but you see, this is not a permanent place. This is just a gathering of souls attracted by the same frequency. They think alike, but it doesn't mean that people cannot suffer somewhere else, the same amount of suffering, you see? And these places won't be there forever. These are just temporary. What Kardec is saying is that this place is hell, where you spend your eternity if you go there, or that place is heaven, and that place you'll be there for eternity, where you go. Well, he said there's no such a thing, but it doesn't mean that you can get gathering of spirits who think alike, who suffer alike. And we are like a dynamo. We are constantly transforming the fluids around us according to our thoughts. Our thoughts, I mean, our spiritual process, mental process. So basically, if we are happy, we radiate happiness, imparting on the fluids this property of happiness. So nice fluids around us. But if we are not, we basically emanates these fluids with these negative properties that are the result of our impressions left on these fluids. And imagine all these people together. For a moment, that area where they are will be, very unhealthy as such. But it won't stay there forever. It won't be like that forever. These are just temporary gatherings, different from a permanent place. This place is hell. You see?
Yes, it makes sense
You
now.
can
So
get gathering of people creating disturbance in certain places. For instance, here in Brazil, we have problems with drugs on the streets, the Cracolândia, where people go and basically they live there. And you can say, this is hell. Yes, it is. It is a hell, a kind of hell. But you won't stay there forever. These people will move, will go, people will do something, the situation slowly will change, and there will be an end to that, you see?
it makes sense.
But you can take that, you can be taken from that area, but you will still suffer the same problems wherever you were taken. You won't benefit from a place that is different from how you're feeling inside. You see, basically you will be somewhere else inside you. You won't enjoy the environment. That's why some spirits who are still very earthbound, very connected to aspects of material life, they can't enjoy a truly spiritual life. They can be with spirits who are happy. But it doesn't mean that those who think and feel alike cannot get together and create areas of happiness. The thing is, these are not permanent in the way that it's going to be there for eternity. And this is the place, this is the address. Okay, here, take the address of heaven or take the address of hell. No. You see, everything is changing. It may take a while, but yes, you'll be changing. I'm sorry, we're running out of time. Camila, forgive me. I thought you had your hand raised.
No.
I'll hand over to, whoever's going to do the prayer today. Is that Pablo?
I can do.
Yeah? Okay. Thanks, Pablo. Let me just stop recording. I think Sila asked about the prayer. We did a short prayer before recording at the very beginning.